Hello, I've been running and the name Laura Dowrich popped into my head. Who is Laura Dowrich?
Hi, Denise. Laura Dowrich is a very passionate Caribbean woman. Trinity born and bred in Trinidad, but superbly passionate about all things Caribbean, our culture, our way of living, our music, our talent, our creativity. I am a Caribbean woman through and through, and that is something I have championed throughout my career. And a lot of people may know the name from media because I've worked in the media for almost 30 years in Trinidad. So through my work in the media, I was always about the Caribbean and uncovering the Caribbean and trying to teach us about ourselves.
So you've spent 30 years working in communications. What has transformed over those 30 years?
I was in media as a journalist, but a lot has transformed for people. Well, now I work in communications as the PR manager for Experience Turks and Caicos, which is the destination management and marketing organization for the Turks and Caicos Islands, aka the Tourist Board. But a lot has changed across the board for comms. Most of all, digital media, the advent of the evolution of digital media has certainly been a game changer for everybody in comms, in media, in corporate communications, complete game changer. Now, people don't, people rely on social media platforms to get all their net messaging and narratives, and it has become something that you have to incorporate into everything that you do now. You can't do it, you can't put out any kind of messaging without social media now.
Do you think that it's helpful or what is it doing?
It's a double-edged sword. It's helpful in the sense that it certainly helps to connect you. You don't need a middleman anymore. You could connect directly to your brands or your favorite personality, right? But the downside is that there's so much disinformation and misinformation. And now in the age of AI, it is getting harder for people to discern what is true and what is factual. People have what we call confirmation bias. If something fits their perspective, they run with it and they don't look to see, they don't do research to see if it's true or not. And that is one of the major downsides that we have to always battle against. It's very frustrating sometimes. So now I work in tourism full time, and my job is to protect the brand of the destination. And so you always have to be on the lookout for any narratives online that threaten the reputation and brand of your destination. People will visit your destination, and if something doesn't go the way they want, immediately they go to TikTok and they make a video to complain. And the messages, by the time you are aware of it, it's already narrative is already out there. So sometimes you find yourself behind the eight ball all the time trying to catch up and you end up being very reactive because the message is out there before you. So it's challenging. It's very challenging, but also social media does provide a medium for me and my others in this field to also put out the messaging that we want to put out. And so there's a balance. So if you see negative, you're going to see the positives as well.
If you had to think through advice to a young person to get into communications, what would you tell them?
I would tell them study the field, look for, and not just academically, but look for people who have excelled in the field and look at their journey, look at their trajectory, look at the foundations they laid. Because there are so many people who are very prominent, who have risen to prominence, but they have been in the field for a very long time. And when you look at their journeys, it's absolutely amazing. And it's always good to have a mentor because these people can then teach you, even if you're looking at them from afar. But if you have the opportunity, again, through social media, to make contact with them on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and get to talk to them and learn from them. So definitely learn, study the field, find a mentor, and also you have to like people. That's the thing I realize you have to like people. You have to be somebody. If you're somebody who don't like people, don't like to talk, don't want your face out there, then this is not a field for you. You have to like people because in many ways, I remember a friend told me that comms is not a forward-facing job, and in some areas it isn't. Some areas you have to be the one behind the wind beneath everyone's wings, but you have to learn to work with so many people because you have bosses, you have managers who influence who have a say in what goes out there. So you have to be able to just be able to be a people person, understand people's perspectives, understand people's personality, know how to navigate around those people. And also if you have to deal with the public, like I do a lot, I have to interact with a lot of tourists, I have to interact with journalists, I have to interact with travel advisors. It pays to be a people person because people are looking, you don't know what people, somebody is going through in their day. And this applies to life, right? You never know what somebody is going through in their day. And they might have a bit of an attitude. It may not necessarily be a personal thing, but it comes across that way. But you have to be able to put people at ease, especially if you know you're selling your destiny. In my case, I'm selling a destination. So I am the face of that destination for these people. So I have to be able to put people at ease. So you have to be a people person. If you know you're not, then this is not the field for you.
So, what would you say to our leaders in order to improve communication?
Respect your communication specialists and advisors. Respect them because they know what they're doing. And I find too often you hear complaints of sometimes the leaders think they know more than the people who were supposed to be advising them. And it's very frustrating. These are specialists, experts in their field, and you have to listen to them because they have a perspective that you may not have. They understand the media. You may not understand the media. You may not understand why the media does what it does, but they do. They have relationships. You have to listen to them. They understand, communication professionals understand what message will resonate and what won't. You have to listen to them. You have to take your ego out and listen to your comms professionals.
Absolutely wonderful. Take your ego out and listen to other people.
Listen, listen. And sometimes, Denise, sometimes things happen and we criticize the communication strategy, not realizing that the comms people, they're cramped by what they can really do because they're giving advice, but your manager, your leader, your minister don't want to do what you are saying. And so it's a big mess and they end up getting the blame, right?
And then when things don't work, they blame you.
Exactly, exactly. What are you going to do? What's your plan? What's your strategy? You weren't listening to me.
Exactly. In the back of your head, you're saying, what a stupid question. If you had listened to me, it would not have happened.
Exactly. And also leaders, so I find a lot of times leaders, because of the position that they're in, they panic, right? They panic, they're easily panicked. As comes people, we don't panic because we have to be the ones to step back, take a holistic look at the situation, and then come up with a strategy. So we have to keep a cool head. But getting them to keep a cool head, sometimes it's challenging.
So, apart from communications, what else inspires you in your life?
Music. I love music. I grew up in a very musical family. I have a sister, Michelle Dowrich, who everybody in the whole of Southern Trinidad knows because she sings and she was a music teacher. My parents sang. We all grew up singing in choirs and learning to play various instruments. I can't play any because I was never a good student, but I love music, love. And a lot of my career, people know me for working in the entertainment cultural space because I did a lot of coverage of that because I love music so much. And it's not just the actual song or instrumental, Denise. It's the industry, what goes into the process of creating the music. That is the thing that really piques my interest. I'm very fascinated by musicians and composers. I find them incredibly talented songwriters. You just sit down and come up with a whole song, and somehow this song just resonates with so many people. I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by producers and how they could create a beat and how they put everything together. I find it fascinating. And I have a podcast called Music Matters, Caribbean Edition with Nigel Campbell. And we talk about the business of music because we're both passionate lovers of music and we would have these long conversations online and on the phone about music. And one day we said, let's do a podcast about music, about the business of music. Because as I said at the beginning, I'm a very passionate Caribbean person. And I want to see Caribbean artists win. I want to see our music industry win. And so this podcast is about exploring what are the things that are keeping us back and how can we take our industry forward, build an industry and take it forward.
So, would you like to share with us something that's keeping us back?
And I think this is replicated across the Caribbean. We don't really have an industry, right? It comes across a lot of times like a hustle. Somebody gets into music, they have a hit song, they go on tour, And that's it. We don't really have a lot of, I know there are people who are working to establish proper labels and do proper management and that kind of thing, but it's still very nascent. We don't really have an industry that would support our artists because you have artists, say, let's take for instance, soca artists. The artists, they are their managers, they are their booking agents, they are their comms people, they are their marketing, and they still have to sing. They are their stylists because not everybody can afford to have all these things. And we put so much on these people. They put out so much every year. And if you that 1 year you don't have a hit, there's nothing, right? We need a proper industry and we need everybody cannot be a producer and an artist. We need people to really guide, build an industry. We need business minded people because creatives aren't always business minded, right? So we need business minded people who could look for opportunities beyond the gig. We saw during the pandemic, there were no gigs.
Yeah.
And there were artists who suffered because financially they needed the gigs, but there were others who were very smart and got into licensing and syncing deals and that sort of thing because they understand that the money is not just in gigs. Sometimes the money is in other things. So we need a proper industry that could really support our what we have going. And we have so much talent, so much talent. And little by little, soca as a genre getting every so often the door opens and somebody get the foot in and you're waiting for everybody else to rush through, but nobody else rushes through because there's no real industry to propel that.
As we come to an end, and thank you for sharing your views with us, what would you like our listeners to take away?
I want them to know that the Caribbean is a beautiful place. And if only the governments around the region would just drop the airport tax and make traveling easier, we Caribbean people would travel throughout the Caribbean. But I urge everyone, get out there and learn the Caribbean. We are so similar. It is not funny. We have our differences, yes, but we are so similar. And we're just like one big family. So yes, go out there, learn the Caribbean, work in the Caribbean, go to school in the Caribbean, go explore. It's a wonderful place. Thank you, Denise. Was happy to join you while you run.
Thank you.